Chris here and welcome back to another phone review. So I have with me the Realme GT. I've been using it for the last 2 weeks. Realme did send this out to me and I will let you know all of the pros and cons about this particular model here. Since my time using it, there are definitely a few things you should be aware of if you're considering importing one of these. So yes, it is an import model. It doesn't come originally with Google Play Store on it, but you can install it. So it does have a very bright 120 Hertz screen on here. It's AMOLED in-screen fingerprint reader, 64 megapixel rear camera, a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, 65 watt fast charging, which they claim can fully charge it in 35 minutes, but I'll let you know the exact time. And it does, of course, have Realme UI and Android 11. The included charger is called a Super Dart charger. This one is 65 watts. Now, it will take 41 minutes in my testing to fully charge the 4,500 milliamp hour battery. Our cable is Type C to Type A, and we do get this TPU case in a smoky gray color. There's a raised lip for the camera module, and it does cover all of our buttons. So the build in this one, in hand, it doesn't feel too bad. Now, the weight of it, it is 188 grams and 8.2 millimeters the thickness. So here you can see on the left are power up and down buttons. We've got a slot here that takes 2 nano SIMs, so no micro SD card support. And flipping it over and taking a look there on the right. So on the right side, that's where the power button is. So I can easily reach that power button. That's great. But what I don't particularly like is the location of the in-screen fingerprint reader, which works really well. However, I'll do that again. Just see, being right-handed, tap it, and I need to move my thumb down quite a bit more. I would like it to be placed about there like other manufacturers do, and I think they've overlooked an opportunity just to move that up, which they should have probably done. So this has a 6.4-inch screen on it. It's Super AMOLED. And we've got a 16 megapixel camera right here. So the bezels around the outside of this one, they're not super small. They make it look a little bit, the bezels to me, like more of a mid-range phone or even a lower end phone. So this right here is the Realme 8 5G, and you can see they do have a very similar design. And good to see that both of these just simply state Realme on the back. There is no huge dare to leap slogan that I'm not too fond of them doing. And most people don't actually, I believe, like that either. So with the ports down the bottom here, we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack. Great to see on a flagship. So many flagships don't have this. Microphone, Type-C with no video out support, loudspeaker, and up the top there is just a microphone right there. So no IR transmitter on this one. And the frame around this is plastic, painted with a metallic finish to make it look and feel like it is metal, but no, it is plastic with this one. So we have a 6.43 AMOLED screen, Full HD Plus resolution, 120 Hz is the maximum refresh. Touch response is very good on this one. I like the fact that it's a flat panel, so there's no curvature to it at all. So just have a look at the colors right here. The brightness is at 50% in the app, but I have turned it right down. Now you may see a little bit of banding coming through. That's because there is sadly no DC dimming with this panel. Now maximum brightness is really good. It tops out at 775 or so nits. It can be viewed in direct sunlight without too much of an issue there. It comes with a pre-applied screen protector. Even though that's stating green colors, that's clearly our blacks. It's just a problem with the app. So blacks do look very deep, and the touch response again here, really quite good. So overall, it's a great panel. I just hope that they could, with a firmware update, add DC dimming, and then it would get a big thumbs up from me. And under display here, you've got all your standard kind of options you'd expect with an Android 11 flagship, apart from, of course, that DC dimming. So eye comfort mode, you can swap over to dark mode there if you wanted to save a little bit on battery life. That's quite good for that. There's some color modes. So I prefer gentle, and I'll keep it on gentle for this video. I found that vivid, it does have a little bit of a blue tint to the whites then using that, and brilliant, I noticed it's way too oversaturated. When you look at YouTube videos of someone's face, especially, I noticed that they did look like they had a bit of a sunburn look to them. I probably look like that too when you look at some of my videos, especially on this screen. So you've got video sharpener mode, color enhancer as well. I personally wouldn't be using those. And it would be nice just under more here to have that DC dimming option. So the screen refresh rate options, you've got auto select, which will swap between 60, 90, and 120. You can force it on to 60, the standard mode. I'm going to keep it on 120 Hz for this review. So this phone is running Realme's UI version 2, and that's on Android 11. I found everything to be very quick and snappy, and the recent apps here, just going through that, swapping over to different things, It does time out and kill apps in the background. It tends to just be that battery saving thing that we have with Android phones, can be a little bit over aggressive to me at times. The gesture is really good. Animations are very good. And overall, the performance of the UI is excellent. Everything seems to be running at 120 hertz, and I really don't have any complaints with it. The only thing that's happened to me with the phone in the now 2 weeks I've had it is one time it did completely freeze and lock up on me for a split second. I have no idea why that is. So Play Store, I had to install that myself. It's not too hard to do. It's got the framework already there. So all you need to do is just go and download the latest Play Store APK file. Just use a website like APK Mirror, and away you go there with that. I am on the latest firmware with this. You get your software updates and all that coming through. And so far, it's just been the one that I did get. So I'll just go through some performance metrics that I always test out with this one. And you can see that the photo gallery there just loaded in a little slow, even though it's got the UFS 3.1 storage. So let's go through some of these, well, important things, I think, to me. So there is quite a bit of bloatware. This being a Chinese domestic model that has been imported here, of course, to me. You're going to have a lot of these different apps that will be all in Chinese. Now, you can uninstall a bulk of them, but there is still quite a few that remain. And I counted at least about 15 or so different bloatware applications. So there are a few of them. So free storage, you are looking at approximately about 111 or so gigabytes with the 128 gigabyte version. That's the one that I have. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. Internal storage speed, so this is UFS 3.1 spec, are very good. Like, look at those random read and write speeds. They are really impressive. Very, very high there, so there's no bottleneck there. The sequential read, very, very good. For a 128 gigabyte drive, that's excellent. So if you've got the 256 gigabyte version, expect higher writes with that one. Antutu score, as expected, for a Snapdragon 888, this is a very good score. The big one there is the GPU, of course, scoring there over 300,000 points. So it does have a very potent, powerful GPU, and I'll get onto gaming performance later on in this review. And this is actually a pretty good result. For a 120 hertz screen, run from 100% battery down to 20. It's calculated my score here. You can watch all my other reviews and you can see the same test that's been done. Displays are calibrated to 200 nits across all devices, first with a light meter. So that's actually not too bad. Now, real world use, you're looking around 6.5 to 7.5 hours tops. So you should be able to make it through a full day, even using this one at 120 hertz. Now, on the adaptive rate, you will get much higher, better battery life and probably a few more hours of on-screen time. Charge time wasn't recorded here, but it is 41 minutes. It didn't record it for some reason with this app. Normally, it would time it right here, but it just didn't support this phone, unfortunately. So 41 minutes, their claim is 35. It is still very, very quick. That is their 65 watt charging. So sadly, Widevine level cert is level 3. This is really disappointing. Being a Chinese model, I did kind of half expect this. And I was just crossing my fingers that they might have had Widevine level 1. So this means that Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, Disney Plus and all that will be in standard definition, sadly, with the Realme GT here. Camera 2 API support, pretty standard nowadays. Most manufacturers will give you the full support for this, so you can use third-party camera applications like Open Camera, Gcam, if you wanted to do that. So GPS works really well, good signal strength, and it sees a lot of satellites and locks onto quite a few. And typical Qualcomm's accuracy of 3 meters, which is their cap for that one. Now, there's a big disappointing area here for me. Wi-Fi speeds are truly poor for a Snapdragon 888. I do not know why this is happening. Normally, most devices with this chipset, being Qualcomm's latest flagship, would be up around 900 megabits per second to even sometimes towards 1000. So gigabit speeds. But here, I'm topping out at always under 300 megabits per second. So this is a software bug. I hope it's not a hardware design issue or a hardware issue to do with the wireless. But yeah, I did expect this to be at least 3 times faster than the result I got here for our wireless performance, which is, yeah, not good to see at all. Onto our audio now. So I've listened to a lot of music with this and various different sources using 3.5, and it sounds good, but I would rate it as about a 7 out of 10. It could be a little bit louder. So if you're using a big headset and you want to really drive and pump out some powerful bass, You may be a little bit short on the volume output with this one. There's no crossover, there's no like horrible static or anything like that coming from the jack, which is great to hear. Voice calls, place them good. Signal strength has been fine for 5G here. No problems with that. But here's a sample of the two loudspeakers. So the bottom firing one, this outputs a good 65% of the sound that you're going to hear. And then the rest of it, so about 35% coming out of the earpiece. And you notice this, if you to tap the bottom, it's definitely, or you tap the top, most of the sound is coming out the bottom there. But here is this loudspeakers, both of them at 100% volume. Gaming performance. How does the GT handle this game here, Genshin Impact, on the maximum settings, which is very, very demanding? It's the most demanding game at the moment, currently out. It's doing really well. So 60 frames per second has been set, highest possible settings. So if I swipe here and bring up their game space, it is normally a solid 58, 59, or 57 frames per second. So in some battles and fights, I have seen it get down to about 49 frames per second, but it's only for a split second. Right now, the GPU's hardly being pushed. So with the game space, you've got different performance optimization modes here. So you can see you can either run balanced, you've got pro gamer mode, which will push the thermals up, but keep the performance up. Low power mode chops down the frame rate, and that will help to save, of course, on your battery life with that. So there are various other options here that we can do with that game space, and that is just to do with blocking notifications so we can concentrate on gaming, of course. So what I'll do now is I'll play this game, which is running really well on this phone. I'll play for 1 hour, and I'll check back and report on just how warm is the Realme GT going to get here. Okay, so we are hitting around 45, almost 46 degrees on the rear of it. And I have noticed that it is very hot to touch on the left side of the screen. And I'll just move the probe temperature over the top of that area. And that's peaking at, well, almost 50 degrees Celsius. I've seen it actually hit 50 degrees like other Snapdragon 888 mobiles. And moving over to our cameras now. So this is the front-facing camera. 1080p maximum is all you can shoot with it and vlog with it. And as I walk ahead, you can see that there is no electronic image stabilization, so it shakes around all over the place. So this is very disappointing to see on a flagship phone. I mean, at least give the front-facing camera some electronic image stabilization. So it is missing a few things, definitely, this particular model here, the GT from Realme. But let's take a look at the rear cameras now and how they perform. Rear 4K video. So we do have electronic image stabilization with this one. 4K 60, 4K 30 with that EIS. It doesn't have any optical, and it does an okay job, but I have actually seen better stabilization from other brands. So going down these stairs here, not too bad. Now we do have some digital zoom here, so this is 2 times, and you can go up to 5 times, which yeah, I would not be using that one. 2 times still looks okay. And when you go over to the ultra wide, we only get 1080p, sadly, so this degrades the quality somewhat. Nowhere near as sharp. The ultra-wide camera really is the weakest of the cameras here with this Realme GT. As I pan around, doesn't seem to be any judder coming through, which is good. Just that quality definitely looks a little bit washed out. Okay, so I really think they've missed the mark here, Realme, with this one. Sure, we got a bright screen, 120 Hz, very fast processor, great ROM speed, it's really quick, great charging times. The cameras are a little bit of a letdown. We don't have a Wi-Fi level 1 cert, and the wireless speeds are way slower than I expected. No image stabilization with the front-facing camera. They're built with a plastic frame around it. We've got a 2 megapixel macro camera too as well. The 8 megapixel ultra wide's not really that amazing. The fingerprint reader, while fast, it works well. I think the location should have been a bit higher. That's for both lefties and right-handed people. It still means you need to move your thumb down. If you're holding it one hand, you do it like that, that's fine. But if you were to do it one-handed, that's when you have to move your thumb down there, which is a very minor thing. Now, face unlocking does work well if you don't want to use the fingerprint reader, of course. Haptics has a bit of a minor little buzz there to it, but it's nothing amazing. It's not as deep feeling as it could be. So that's why I just think that Realme has missed the mark here with the Realme GT. It could have been so much more. Performance is there. It's just on the software side of things, and the cameras there are just a little bit of a letdown, really. If they want to compete with the likes of Xiaomi, then really models like this do need to offer, I feel quite a bit more. So hopefully we'll see an international release of this one, prove the software, and if you can get it for a really good price, then I would say, okay, yeah, then consider it. If not, take a look at what the competition's offering with their Snapdragon 888 lineup. So thank you so much for watching this review. I hope you did like it. Do subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.